Welcome to the CXR channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
All right, hello everybody. I'm Chris White, president of Career Crossroads. You are dialed in today to hear from an industry leader who's going to share with you a career lesson or how-to that's one of the many topics surfaced from a survey from hundreds of talent leaders this year. Now, in this series, the topic might be around DE&I, leadership, innovation, or even headspace and sanity during some pretty unprecedented times. So these conversations are about 10 minutes long, and if you're dialed in live, you can both listen and participate with questions via the live chat feature. If you're listening to the podcast after the interview, you can find it anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts like iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, et cetera, or you can find it on our site at cxr.works/expert Tease. If you do drop a question into the chat, we're going to try and answer it as time permits. But the good news is that if we do run out of time or you'd like to ask our guests something later after the podcast, we've set up a free space for you to do that in an open exchange hosted by CXR at cxr.works/talent talks. So with all of that, let's jump in with today's guest and industry friend. He's the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Equinix. Please welcome Nick Mailey. Nick, how are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for the invite. I love this community. I've shared this before. I continue to learn from everyone here. And so thank you for the opportunity to chat. Doing well. As well as can be, right? It's 2020 and COVID. We are in unprecedented time. So
for sure. Well, we know you get out what you put in, right? So it's exciting. So Nick, today we're going to ask the age-old question that leaders face when thinking of technology and talent, right? And that's whether or not to buy or build what's needed. Now, you've been doing this for a period of time. You've learned a few things as a leader at various organizations of note. What's one thing you'd really like our listeners to walk away knowing with regards to the challenge of buy v build?
Well, you mean really getting narrow in on what you're solving for, what's critical to the business and what you really need to deliver. And then when you look at, it sounds really simplistic, but I do lots of interviews to really understand what's critical with executives and then with employees, because those are ultimately your clients. That's really the number one thing. And then it's getting alignment that you're going to deliver on that need. And then, you know, the whole buy versus build, I always balance, like what is the need and then how are we going to deliver on that? And balance can look differently, whether it's technology or people or what you're trying to deliver against.
Is there one big takeaway though? So from a balance standpoint, I mean, when I hear balance, I think of priorities, right? Whether that's buy-in on the front end, or whether that's from an implementation and staging standpoint, or adoption and change management. I mean, is there one that's just been a particular? We can go with victory or defeat, but just one that really stands out to you from an experience standpoint.
So let me answer this in a couple of ways because I want to try to answer your question. When I think about balance, I think about the teams that we're developing and growing to deliver on a business need. And invariably, when you do an assessment of an organization that you're working with, they may have some of the talent, but not all of the talent. So you're buying talent. And I've been fortunate enough, maybe 4 times where I've been in major transformations of companies where we had to essentially buy talent that didn't exist, and we transform those companies and the success there and the success of those companies. But you have to assess, what's there, what can be developed, and then what it is that you need. And then for my own teams, it's been the same thing, which is looking at the capabilities in that team and understanding how you can bring in new talent that would really up-level it. And I think, if you've worked with me, I tend to hire people from industry, but not necessarily having functional backgrounds, say, within recruiting. I'll look at folks with finance backgrounds or consulting backgrounds or product management, software development backgrounds. And I feel like that really sort of, I think, rounds out an organization. And allows you to think differently and really pushes us as a recruiting organization, I think, to new levels.
Well, and I think you and I might have talked a little bit about this a year or so ago. I mean, when you're talking about diversity within an organization and within teams, oftentimes people just jump directly to underrepresented minorities, right? Or people of color or gender. But I think what you're really talking about here is diversity of thought and experience, right?
That's exactly right. You want diversity, of course, of thought, capabilities, and functional expertise that they're applying on a new problem. And so you look at what you have, right? You broaden it. And I think that's where, when I think back on our success, it's bringing in that diverse team that's led to, I think, the best outcomes that I've experienced. And best outcomes in helping transform a company.
Nice. Well, what would you say is the biggest watch out from that standpoint when looking to bring folks in and trying to shake things up a little bit? What's the biggest thing people should be looking out for?
It's a fantastic question. I think there are a couple. You don't want to hold on too long to talent that's not working out. And that's been my own personal, what happens is you develop affinity for people that are close to you and that you work with on an ongoing basis. And that's the most challenging thing, is really being objective and understanding how they're working either with the team, how they're working with the clients. But that's the watch out, really is waiting too long. And being really thoughtful upfront with what that will look like upfront. I think that's one. And I think the second area, particularly for leaders, I think the biggest enemy we have, and you don't see it, but it's indifference. And it's not caring about the different elements and components, those small things that impact the greater whole. And that indifference, whether it be with talent or systems and solutions or processes and experience, that indifference will come back to haunt you. That's the other thing. So it's not that you dislike something because then you know how you're going to handle it, or that you love something because you know what it's delivering. It's that indifference in certain things. And you almost have to check yourself, because those things that you're indifferent about invariably are things you're going to have to come and go and fix later.
Nice. I think that's a really good call out. We do have one question that has come in, so I do want to ask you that before we run out of time. Does speed to market also impact, your thoughts around buy versus build?
Such a great question. It depends on what we're talking about. We're talking about our team, or we're talking about delivering for the business. So,
let's do delivering to business, right? You got running speed to market. How big of a factor is that?
Anybody can build a team. Right? Anybody can field a team, but that doesn't mean the team's any good. Like if we're going to look in the United States, the Jets have a football team. I think they've lost 16 games last year and probably going to lose another 16. Like anyone, talent acquisition can build a team. It's what you deliver and how you do it. That's what's ultimately most critical. And so are you delivering the talent that is really necessary to transform the company and, the way in which you're doing it? Are you diversifying the talent? Are you getting high caliber talent? And so those things really matter. And so first to market. So look, timing and critical mass is critical. That clearly plays a role. And so that has to go into calculation, but you have to be thoughtful about what you're delivering and the way in which you are delivering. And so like all of us, it's setting expectations on what the trade-offs are if you're just quickly getting to market. And I saw a question on RPO. I'll just quickly jump onto that. I believe it takes a village, and I work with an ecosystem of partners. I don't have one RPO. I have 3 RPOs. And it allows you to be far more agile in delivering on different needs. And it allows you to sort of deliver on a need and dial it back where you need to. And then candidly, there are RPOs that are very good at certain things, and that's why I'll use a variety of them to assist us and allow us to be more agile as we're growing or delivering on specific initiative.
I love it. Non-traditional diversity. Nick, you are absolutely awesome.
Right. That's the thing. Like you have to think about what is your ecosystem. Like your village is not just internal. It's all those partners that develop those solutions for you. Partnerships with organizations that help diversify pipeline. It's the MSPs, those managed service providers, and ensuring they're rowing in the same direction, and the RPOs, and pulling them all together. They should all be on your staff, You should be meeting with them frequently. So it's not just your FTEs and your directs.
Yeah, nothing in a vacuum. Nick, you are an industry superhero. So it's always fantastic to connect with you. I just love it. I love the work you do. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Next week, I've got Frida Polly. She is the CEO and founder of PyMetrics. She's going to join us to talk about the impact of ethics on talent decisions in today's hiring environment. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be December 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern, so slightly different time than we normally do, but you can register to join us live on the CXR website. And until then, we hope to see everybody online at cxr.work/talent talks. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram at careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.